Watch ENERTIA TV, your digital economic channel on power, energy and infrastructure. Promoter ENERTIA Infra Media. Contact A. Prakash Iyer, Executive Editor on 0251 6500 Mobile 0922 354 7582 09322 604411. Email infratv.eepl@gmail.com.
ENERTIA and REPA jointly present Professor Iyer's talk show, Future of Energy, India Vision 2022. India's first talk show on energy and power. Exclusively on Zee Business. Co-partners MTU On-Site Energy and BS Group, Sugan Automatics. Associate partner BHEL. Supported by Jindal Power Limited and Patel Engineering Limited. Segment partner Green Brilliance Energy, a Falcon Media production exclusively on Zee Business.
Welcome back, my friends, on this third episode, a power-packed episode on decentralized and distributed power across this special edition of Future of Energy, India Vision on Zee Business exclusively. And with me today again we have Anil Razdan, former Secretary for Government of India on my left side. On my right side is Mr. Surendra Nagila, the Managing Director and CEO of Sugan Automatics. On his right is Rajiv Kumar Srivastava, who is the Director for Sugan Power Systems. After Mr. Razdan is Dr. Hridesh Khanna, our friend from Germany, and the Director of Business Strategy for MTU On-Site Energy. On my extreme left is one of our very special new guests, who is a specialist on the decentralized gas-based power, Mr. Rajesh Shah, who is the President of Cogent Solutions of the Sterling and Wilson Group. On my extreme right is my colleague and a man from Gujarat and who has been active in the renewable energy space, Hetal Mehta, who is the Joint President for Renewable Energy Promoters Association. So today we begin this decentralized and distributed power session on the last note that Razdan Saab left for us, and that is that there is more requirement of decentralization. So let me put this question, how much of that decentralized energy can really be developed? Is there no limit, or are we going towards this because the grid has lost its capacity to allow more power to be transported? Is it because of a situation, or we want decentralized and distributed power actually in the country?
See, it's not that the grid has lost its capacity. I think we should not stretch a capacity beyond its limits also, because it becomes uneconomic beyond the point. And I think there is a great merit and joy in having some decentralized source of power with you. You don't want power to flow only through, whether political power or real power to flow through settled change paths also. Every person needs a bit of power himself. But originally, decentralized power began as something where we could not take the grid. And generally people living in those areas were not very enthused about decentralized power, because they said that we want grid power, we want to work our gadgetry, we want to work our system, and second, we want reliable power. We want light and not lightning, which keeps coming and going off. Or something, if it goes off, it is not, there's no technology or technologists locally to set it right. I remember having that kind of an argument when I visited Andaman Island, that why don't you use solar power here? Yes, they were installed here, but then there was nobody to set them right once they went wrong. We have a large number of villages by now, of course, following the Rajiv Gandhi Gramin Vidyutikaran Yojana, they are by and large electrified. We had set aside about 25,000 villages, the most difficult ones, which are remote, we call them, for other sources, renewable source of energy, making it decentralized. But this decentralized power has to be affordable. A person having a genset at his wedding pandal or something is also having decentralized power. But is that affordable? 12 rupees, 14, 16 rupee power, is that affordable? No. It's a rich man's pleasure. He can afford to have that decentralized power. What we ought to be debating is, can decentralized power be taken and be affordable for what we have come to believe is the aam aadmi of the country? That I think should be the focus.
So Dr. Khanna ji, in this, we have seen a lot of movement in gas-based power, as you have been successful in states like Gujarat. MT On-Site Energy has put up those plants for textile mills, and in a state where power is surplus, power is available, and yet industry is going for decentralized distributed power coming from gas, a clean fuel, So what is your view on this same subject, Do we have a greater chance to develop more of this decentralized capacity, especially with gas? Gujarat is also the only gas grid state in the country.
Professor, there are different issues in decentralized power, and Mr. Razan made a very good point here. How can I make power affordable? Okay, and the question is, how do I utilize my resource properly, and most effectively, actually? So, just transforming energy from one form to the other form may not be a very viable solution for certain countries where the cost of capital is high and the buying power is low. So you have to think of all these issues and how to do about it. So what I personally think for India, the step would be utilizing energy to its maximum factor in converting it into different ways. You brought in an example of Gujarat. Here, companies require captive power, they require clean power, and they require reliable power. And I think that is the key to the whole issue, because you have to give reliability and cost performance of the power, actually. And here we are achieving a concept of cogeneration and trigeneration, where India especially needs not only power, but this power is, how is it utilized by the end user, and how to see that and differentiate that in a proper manner. So besides having electrical power, he's using that for running his machines, he's using that for air conditioning, he may be using that for process heat. So all these things have to be considered. So I will go one step further than that. I would say the optimized utilization of energy resources in using decentralized applications depending upon the various type of requirements which are there.
And before we come back to our next speaker on the same lines and continue the discussion, we'll have a small break here. Welcome back, viewers. Returning after this break, we have an eminent guest here, Rajesh Shah, who has great experience in doing this. Probably one of the projects is DLF in Gurgaon. Yeah. So I would like Rajesh bhai to throw the light. आप हमें बताएं इधर कि इस तरह से urban areas के अंदर how do we actually exploit to the maximum the heat content in a power plant coming from gas, using both gas turbines and DG sets, mainly DG sets and gas turbines, mainly DG. How do you see this happening in many places?
Firstly, decentralized power is nothing else but generating power at source. It is not really nothing to do with rural electrification or anything. It's basically generating power close to the source. Decentralized power is mainly driven by efficiency at source and CO2 emissions. Yeah? These are perhaps the two larger drivers combined with a lot of other issues. Yeah? So to build up on Mr. Razdan and Dr. Khanna, what I can say is decentralized energy, I would say, more than power, it's energy, because you have an opportunity to use exhaust from the turbines and the engines for various applications. So decentralized energy is a real opportunity which needs to be first embraced by the Ministry of Power, by the policymakers, by the Planning Commission as a part of power augmenting policy. Yeah? Today it is not. So far in India, decentralized power is largely driven by entrepreneurial spirit. Yeah? And the people who took risk on that, but is not really driven by any policy. The opportunities in urban sector are enormous. You have major growth coming from commercial segment today. The major growth of power demand, is coming from commercial infrastructure being redefined in India. And the real opportunity there is exhaust heat being utilized for air conditioning. Now you kill two birds in one shot. You create a power, you generate your own power, putting less pressure on the grid, and you reduce the power demand by shifting air conditioning load, which is 35% of a building or a hotel, onto the heat. So you really address this very effectively. Needs to be integrated with the gas availability and a number of things. But it has a great opportunity.
Coming back on that issue, Razdan Saab, I feel, there is no policy construct, as they have rightly said, Can there be a policy construct for combined heat and power and combined heat, power and cooling, in the country?
We did make a beginning, you see, when the KG basin gas distribution was being done for city gas, in the name of city gas distribution. I don't think that entire quota was utilized. Maybe the gas suppliers want to deal more with one very large consumer, say like NTPC or some power producer, rather than, be dealing with giving to a distributor and he in turn dealing with about 5,000 consumers of maybe 50,000 for the same amount of gas. But it is, as Rajesh ji says rightly, it is for the planning to put that across. And I only hope that the benefits of this high efficiency in the areas that you mentioned is operating are going down to the consumers. At what rate is the consumer getting the power today? That has to be the test. If we place these facts before the consumer, that earlier you were getting power at 12 rupees a unit, today with this conversion to gas, you are going to get it at maybe 5 rupees a unit or 4 rupees a unit, and reliable power. You're not dependent on that grid or the mischief of that grid or inefficiency of the local distribution service. That's the very great advantage of this source of power.
Let me ask Surendra Nagila ji, in the light of the argument all the three experts have thrown here, including Razdan Saab on the policy side, should we really not anymore look at simple cycle power plants in the decentralized mode? We should force combined cycle, I would say combined heat and power.
CHP.
Yeah. CHPs.
CHPs, yeah. I think more relevant, I feel the application would be in three areas. Number one is the peak load shaving, where the application we can give this type of gas generation. Then the second issue would be for the HVDS, whatever we have brought so far, we can use that source, could be the same gas generation plant, where the subsidy and the type of requirement for agriculture sector can be generated there itself and consumed, so that it gives a lot of relief on the discoms. The third important thing is urban is no less. In urban, every 33 kV or 11 kV input to the transformer of 500 kVA and above, we can use a gas thing. I think the standing example is in Bombay itself for Chembur. When BSES wanted to expand their capacity, there is no place for the substation. The same 33 kV by 11 kV substation, you can put a gas plant. Now whether the heat recovery is a bonus. This is where I think we need to, there the technology parity between the better and the normal, I think will be evened out because of the application and the requirement.
मेहता साहब, सूरत के अंदर जो आपकी सूरत म्युनिसिपल कॉर्पोरेशन है, उसने वेस्ट टू एनर्जी के अंदर बड़ा काम किया, वो भी एक डिसेंट्रलाइज्ड फॉर्म ऑफ एनर्जी, और मेरे ख्याल से सूरत के पास करीब 9 मेगावाट है, बड़ौदा के पास करीब 4-5 मेगावाट है, इसी तरह अहमदाबाद। तो इस तरह की जो मॉडल आपकी म्युनिसिपल कॉर्पोरेशन ने डेवलप किया है, क्या ये दूसरे हिस्सों में भी हो सकता है?
ये हर जगह हो सकता है। वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट इज द बेसिक इश्यू फॉर आवर कंट्री, एंड इफ वी कैन एड्रेस दिस वेस्ट मैनेजमेंट इश्यूज लाइक दिस वे by generation of the power, it will definitely help to the environment also. So it is definitely advantageous for the whole country, but that proper model and implementation has to be done for that. And Surat has taken lead in this in the country. And now, see, 9 megawatt they have already introduced, and they are planning for the solid waste management up to 50 megawatt. It's that target.
Using the plasma ignition technology.
Plasma ignition technology.
Right. So we'll come right after the break, and we will see whether the country can have a 50 gigawatt target for the 12th plan for decentralized distributed power right after this break. Welcome back. After this break, we are going to discuss a large target, 50 gigawatts of decentralized and distributed power for India's 12th plan, and predominantly probably dominated by the combined heat and power, higher efficiency, 80-85% gas-based power. Mr. Srivastava, I would like to ask you on one, put your views on this point. Basically, urban areas, especially, major cities, whether we see Bombay, whether we see Delhi, Mumbai is the MMR, the Mumbai metropolitan region. It is not just the 30 lakh, 2.5 crore population living in the suburbs. Same is with Delhi, the NCR, with the Gurgaons and all that. And then we are seeing power crisis starving these kind of centers, and we see a window of opportunity with the decentralized gas-based power and the combined heat and power mode, where we can use the air conditioning effect, using the vapor absorption machines and such technology. And this is very much feasible. And the time of usage, like for example, if we have a mall or a center, we see that the time of usage is the call centers and other commercial centers can operate in the daytime when homes don't consume, and vice versa. Do you see this kind of a business model moving across the cities, and we can fuse it across for a larger development, and that gas must also be given to only such projects?
This is a segment that actually needs to be encouraged. I do not know about Bombay, but definitely cities in NCR, Delhi, Gurgaon, Noida, they suffer from this kind of deficit, and there are large consumers who could be put on the gas grids. They could also be encouraged to go into other forms of distributed power, and solar is one of them. Not necessarily the large megawatt size, but rooftop, building integrated, etc. So, coming to your point of combined heat and power generation,
the efficiencies are 85%.
The efficiencies are very high, and that is area that I would even urge it could be mandated for such bulk consumers of power. But I think these consumers must also be encouraged and in fact mandated to use renewables as much as they can in the complete portfolio of a renewable mix in the basket, plus the gas, efficient use of gas with heat and power generation. That could be the solution in my mind.
Others are coming back immediately. I want to know from you, can't there be like a devil's advocate? Can't we suggest that if gas is used and it is offsetting coal, so some amount of deemed renewable benefit can also be given to gas, and some strategies formed so that urban areas at least use this type of power along with renewables?
You see, willy-nilly, it could happen in the foreseeable future when your sources of power supply are linked to emissions. Right. So in any case, you see, the gas emissions are stated about 50% lower than your coal-based emissions. And once this kind of regime comes into play, this will happen naturally. But the point is very well made by Mr. Srivastava that you've got to see the whole thing as a package. Are we using solar? Are we using wind wherever we can? And the great advantage, as Dr. Khanna also said, that it peaking power shaving off at that point of time. Plus, you have the power to switch off at that point of time. We need to bring the consumer also into play as one of the four essential segments of any power solution or energy solution.
Yeah. Khanna sir, when we look at your whole experience across, Asia, you've been moving to Bangladesh, you've been moving to the other countries, and you've been seeing a lot of development of, I would say, gas-based power, And in the case of India, it's more exciting, like the combined heat and power comes into picture, more efficiency. So do you see that we are underplaying our potential?
I certainly see a huge potential there. And if you look at the future scenario worldwide and compare that in the energy management sequence, the question will be how intelligently I am utilizing my resources and what is going to be the trend in the future actually. See, and the trend in the future, coming back to your main question, the 50 gigawatt over here, gas will, because of the availability of the resource, certainly will gain momentum. And in 2020-2025, Japan will be utilizing its energy generation through gas by 65 to 70%. Europe will be doing more or less the same. The question is, what I'm going to do with the carbon footprint, where are the emissions, and the awareness of the consumer, as you rightly have pointed out. The consumer has to be made aware that what we call the so-called waste is not a waste, but it's a resource. So this is a scenario which certainly today in India's need-based economy for energy, under a situation that energy availability is limited, the future trends, we cannot ignore them. So we will have to see bio-waste, biofuels, waste management systems for different type of wastes, how we are doing that. Another area is the biogas area here in the rural areas where we have plenty of resources to do that. And even in developed economies like Germany and other countries, we are even using agricultural waste, maize, to generate energy. I think all these are issues which the policymakers have to decide in the future and lay out a strategy for the country.
We're completely short of time on this issue. I thank all my guests here. You have done an excellent discussion. With that note, that the consumer simply needs quality and reliable power at the end of the day. And also, definitely he will look at energy efficiency, and higher efficient gas-based power is definitely required for India. And meet you in our next show talking on quality and reliability of power. Bye-bye for now.
Inertia and REPA jointly present Professor Iyer's talk show, Future of Energy, India Vision 2022. India's first talk show on energy and power. Exclusively on Zee Business. Co-partners MTU On-Site Energy and BS Group, Sugan Automatics. Associate partner BHEL. Supported by Jindal Power Limited and Patel Engineering Limited. Segment partner Green Brilliance Energy, a Falcon Media production exclusively on Zee Business.
If you are a power, energy and infrastructure company, advertise and promote your brand with India's topmost international grade publications. ENERTIA, Asia's premier journal on sustainable energy and power. And Marconomy, the journal for infrastructure, water, environment and economy. Also presenting Marconomy Marathi, India's first and only regional language journal on energy, power and infrastructure sectors. Power your brands, advertise with our journals, partner our seminars and roundtables. Supported by ENERTIA Foundation and REPA, Renewable Energy Promotion Association. Contact Falcon Media, email inertia.falcon@gmail.com, marconomy.falcon@gmail.com. Call 0902 9077245, 0902 9092223, 0922 354 7582.